So the headlines are screaming in hockey that India mauls Singapore 16-1. This was the second match. And before that, they had routed Uzbekistan. The word rout sounds like a cliche, but it was 16-0. And Sandeep, you said in the match against Uzbekistan, the brave Uzbeki goalie had saved 10 goals. So what exactly is happening? And why this fixation with 16? Or is it just a coincidence?
No, it's just a coincidence. But yeah, talking of goalkeepers, I think the Singapore guy also had a good game today. But you know, the reason why the goalkeepers have a good game when one particular team dominates, and when I say dominates, means you got 40, 45 circle penetrations, you got 90% of complete total command on the game. So obviously the balls are going to go to the goalkeeper. So out of 40, 50 chances that India is going to hit at them, the poor guy is going to save at least 10, 15. But in this whole scenario, it almost looks like he's the star, you know, when he makes some good saves, especially on penalty corners. But if there is a worry, I think maybe the coach is probably worried on the penalty corner stuff
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know, you got 22 penalty corners and you're still not able to put in a lot. When I say put in a lot, I mean a 50% conversion rate against a defense like Singapore or a defense like Uzbekistan probably would have told the coach that yes, things are probably progressing, or maybe you know, maybe we are probably overthinking as usual. I mean, it's a journalist's job to overthink. You know, it's not the coach's job to overthink. And unless we start overthinking, then we don't have stories to tell, you know, whether it is print or TV or anybody or digital, you know, all this make believe digital world that we live in. At the end of the day, true stories are true stories. So,
Right.
16 and 16, and as Manpreet said later on after the match, that they take these games extremely seriously because he's learned his lessons from the last Asian Games. So I think these are good times for them, but big challenges are up ahead.
Before we go on to the big challenges ahead, you mentioned about the penalty corners. So it is a worrying sign for India as India converted just 8 out of 22. Two questions I have for you, Sandeep. One is that 8 out of 22, does it signify disinterest? Or it could also be that they already know that they're dishing out a hammering. So what is the need to go more ballistic? Is it could be any of those factors, or is it just incidental to the game?
I think there could be a third factor, which is basically the coach telling them to use a couple of variations or to probably pinpoint areas that they're not doing in the training. So this an opponent like Uzbekistan or Singapore is perfect for experimentation. So maybe those experiments probably didn't work, or maybe sometimes you experiment just to understand and give a little more leeway to the players. That okay, fine. These are the areas where you're normally going to hit. Let's try and do something else. So you'll probably have Varun, you'll have Amit. I think Sanjay probably didn't take a penalty corner today, if I'm correct. Maybe one or maybe zero. Harmanpreet was back and he had a hat trick, which means he got 4 goals, and I think all of them were from penalty corners. So, and it's interesting that in the first 2 quarters, Harmanpreet's penalty corner pushes were all along the carpet. It's only in the third and the fourth quarter that he started putting it up high, which means that's the usual Harmanpreet, where you know he finds the higher portions in the net, which is to the left and to the right. So I think it's a combination of experimentation, which, and honestly, I don't think the coach will be uh, too worried about it, because at the end of the day, when you meet a big challenge, you rise to it, and I think the team has in it to rise to a particular challenge, which is the next game actually.
Now, the next game is against defending champions Japan. So, what should be the approach? And if India loses, then what happens? Do they get another chance, or they are knocked out?
No, we have Pakistan and Japan, two big teams in the pool. If you want to discount Bangladesh as the other team, one can easily do that. Bangladesh is not what they used to be a decade or 15 or say 17 years back, where scorelines were low, but India used to win. I think you need to also go back to the last Asian Games in Jakarta, where India beat Japan 8-0 in the pool. Harinder was the coach. Virtually almost this team, except a few players who are not there. Sardar is not there, Virender Lakra is not there. So those guys are missing from that particular squad. But Manpreet, Harmanpreet, everybody would remember that particular match. I think in the last decade of watching hockey, or probably looking at, I'm only counting the last decade. It was one of those really perfect games that India played in beating Japan 8-0. But we went on and lost the semi-final. So I think the team understands that the challenge is number one to beat Japan, of course. I mean, if you don't beat Japan, then you might end up number two in the pool, even if you beat Pakistan. So the idea is very clear: go hammer tong after Japan, get those goals, get that confidence in that you're playing a top six team in Asia, and then go for Pakistan on Saturday. So I think these two games are crucial in terms of your finishing on top. Basic, simple reasoning: beat both and become pool toppers.
So before we wind up, any red flags that India should be worried about?
I think I I wouldn't say red flags. I think by the time you hit a second quarter in a game against Uzbekistan and Singapore, there is a tiredness that comes into the team that they just keep going in and there is absolutely no excitement. So it was a little when Abhishek suddenly asked the referee, I want a referral on this penalty corner. You're already 8 goals up, 9 goals up. And normally a player would say, okay, fine, let it go on. But Abhishek was insistent, नहीं नहीं मुझे चाहिए referral, मेरे को तो referral चाहिए, मेरे को मालूम है यहाँ penalty corner है. So I think it was a nice way to drum up excitement. And one could see Mandeep looking at Abhishek like, भाई तुम क्या मांग रहे हो? Referral मांग रहे हो? 9 goal हो चुके हैं already. You know, but Abhishek was right. In fact, the referral came to India. India got the penalty corner, and I think Harman scored off that. So uh, areas, I think areas are pretty compact. Sanjay making his debut at the Asian Games looks pretty good. Honestly, he's tall, and sometimes when you look at him from the back, you almost feel that this is the second Harmanpreet coming up. Of course, his penalty corners. I think today was a good chance. Probably the coach should have given him more on the PCs because you got Japan coming up. But with the kind of team you have and with the rolling substitution coming in, I think Sanjay would probably be used in places where Harman is going to be off onto the bench. I think that is what the normal strategy will be because his fallback is a little suspect. I wouldn't say it's too bad, but it's a little suspect when Japan or Pakistan may go for a counter. Just to make another point, Japanese counterattacks are very lethal, are extremely lethal, and I think we saw that in the Asian Champions Trophy. We've seen that earlier also. So I think those areas the coach is going to cover in terms of the defense. I think the midfield is pretty okay. I mean, and how much can you gauge against Uzbekistan and Singapore also in a way?
Right.
It's just it's a little tiresome to sometimes think that okay, the team's going to play this and going to play that. But I think the challenge will be Japan. Japan is on a bad day, Japan can be really bad, honestly. But on a good day, Japan can be deadly. So I think just because hockey needs a little more excitement, apart from this 16, but this goal, I think Japan should play good and India should should get a good game. Otherwise, I mean, your hands go tired. I mean, how much scoring can you do, on a Twitter handle also? Yeah, Ravi goal. Yeah, I remember. I mean, I was just typing out Mandeep scores, and then suddenly Abhishek scores two, and I said, "क्या थोड़ा एक मिनट रुक जाओगे मैं जरा ये tweet कर लूँ." So those kind of things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Japan honestly, and I think a lot of people out here are probably looking to Pakistan on Saturday. I think that's the day when you'll see the media coming in fully, even though India Pakistan probably has lost a little bit of its glamour earlier. But anything and everything, as Manpreet says, everything and anything can change within a space of 30 seconds in a hockey game. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope we clear these two hurdles.
Yeah, so we will keep a close eye on India versus Japan and then on India versus Pakistan with all its magic and romanticism and emotion. And all the best to Team India. And thanks, Sandeep. We'll be back with much more.
Thank you.